Hey there. So I thought today would be kind of fun is to kind of show you how to draw a bird. And this particular bird is a warbler. So I thought I'd get started, and I'm using a blue pencil just to kind of show you the form of when I'm creating this bird. So what I'm going to do is just go ahead and start with the line of action. So that would be the direction that the bird is kind of going into, and like his general direction of his body. So we always start with a line of action to give you an idea of where is the movement going towards. And then what I'm going to do is just draw a circle around that line. There you go. It's just a light circle. Now if you were doing this, you probably wouldn't be using a blue pencil. You could use a regular pencil. Just draw really lightly, because these are the foundation lines. These are what you're using to kind of figure out the parts of the bird. So you would just draw real lightly, because you would end up erasing that later. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is show you where the head would be. Now the head, I don't want to do the head too far out, because it would be a weird looking bird. His head would be unusually long, and for a warbler they're closer into the body. So what I'm going to do is just kind of start by what I call ghosting in art. That's when you just kind of start tracing like this, not tracing but circling that, and then you just kind of drop the pencil down. So now you have a nice circle. It kind of gets you the practice for the circle. Alright, so we have that going, and I might find it probably needs to be a little bigger, but we'll end up changing that a little bit anyways as we go. So the next thing that I want to do is show where the beak would go. Now, the beak's not going to go right from the middle of the bird. It's going to be kind of a little down a little bit and off center. It's going to come right out. Okay, and we'll fix that size and everything. So after you've done that, we're going to indicate where the tail would be. The tail will come out probably from right here. Just draw a line. All right, so you might be able to see this is starting to kind of look like what could be a bird. So at this point, what we would do is we would start kind of carving in the features of the bird, like where things connect. For instance, on the head of the bird to the body, kind of draw a line in here. The back of the head's the bird to the back, kind of a line here. And you just kind of start shaping these in. Okay, the base of the bird to the tail. And you just kind of get those pieces in there. And maybe we include the leg. And another leg. So now you're kind of to see it's starting to take the shape of a bird, which is pretty cool. Alright, so now what I want to do is show where the base of the feathers are going to meet. So we'll start here and just draw a line that goes all the way back. Okay, so what that means is where all the feathers will end up stopping, like at the bottom, and you'll see that in a few minutes. And then there'll be another line back here for the secondary feathers, because there's primary feathers and secondary feathers on birds. So, and you'll see where that will take effect. So now what I'm going to do is switch over to the pencil and just kind of start shaping in this beak. And just kind of maybe make it like that. Okay, so you have this little beak. It's going to come into the head a little bit, curve over. Okay, so there's this beak. All right. And then we're going to draw his eye. Now, the eye is not going to be directly behind the beak. It's not that at all. It's going to be more, sorry, I was fixing that. It's going to be more above, because the skull's in here. So if you had an eye socket back here, that would be weird, because that means the skull and the beak would be at a weird place. So really the eye is going to be probably like right around here. And so what we can do is, if you wanted to draw a little circle, and then just kind of taper that circle on the edges. So now you kind of have where the eye would be. And I'm going to go ahead and just erase part of this beak right here. It's a little on the heavy side. Okay. All right. So now that we have that, let's go ahead and start kind of refining this a little more. And his head's pretty big right here. I'm going to kind of smooth it down just a little bit. Showing his back. Okay, so now you're starting to see where the bird's coming to fruition. So on the back, we've got this kind of downy little feather areas, and all you have to do for those is just show some simple lines. I mean, they don't have to be super detailed, and we're just sketching a bird in here. If you wanted to do a lot of detail, then that that would take a lot more time than what we're doing right now. Okay, so I talked about how this would be the base of where the feathers are going to be. So that what I'm going to do is just kind of draw them with a pencil, and then have this kind of come up like this. And then where the secondary feathers stop right here, what I'm going to do is just kind of draw that so they kind of curve up a little, and then they go into the body. Sort of like that, okay? And they would kind of meet down here. And then they also kind of pull in right here. That's just going to go towards the back, or towards the front of the bird. All right, and then, so all these feathers, they all just kind of overlap. So what I'm going to do is pull this in. Okay, and now we've got this long piece, that's the very long tail feather in the back. So what I'm going to do is just kind of bring that up and over and in. All right, cool. And then this, we'll just kind of continue this. I had done that in blue. That was just kind of more of a guideline for me. All right, so now we're really kind of starting to see where this bird's becoming a bird. So we'll fix his belly right in here. All right, now what we're going to do is in the front part of this, where these feathers stop, just kind of bring this up a little bit in here. And these are going to be like, there's so many different types of feathers that kind of just fold in that, you know, it would be impossible to focus on so many of them in such a little bit of time. So what I'm going to do is just kind of generalize them. All right, and then we'll come up right in here. And then this will kind of do like that. And then up here, what we're going to see is where the feathers kind of come down off the top part of the body, the shoulder area. Okay, so just draw some simple kind of little lines like that. All right, cool. So we got that happening. This is really starting to come to be a bird, which is great. So we're going to add a little more detail in here. Okay, now on these birds, on these particular, they have what's kind of like a face mask, you know, almost in their patterns. And so all different birds have different things about their faces. This particular type of bird, they have like this kind of darker area that kind of goes around. So it comes down, and it's not super specific, I mean, but you just kind of generalize it. And then they have this eye ring that kind of goes around the eye, and it's kind of elliptical right in there. And what we'll do is we'll fill in the eyeball itself, but leave a little bit of white right in there. See, now suddenly it gives it some kind of neat three-dimensionality to it. You know, it looks like it's reflecting light, which is great. Okay, so now we're at the point where we're really just going to start drawing in some extra details and stuff. So let's just go ahead and show some little dots under here. And ideally, you would be able to erase these blue lines. I'm going to try and do that. That's why I was saying, if you're drawing, just draw lightly with a pencil, and then you can erase those afterwards. All right. So we kind of have like these kind of feather marks in here. There's a shoulder. There's some little feathers that kind of come down. This could come over. There we go. And now we're going to focus on drawing all the other little individual feathers. So we'll go a couple lines. All right. And then back here, what we're going to do is we're going to kind of scallop this just a little bit. And I'll show you why. So once where that scallop stops in the middle, that's going to be a line for a feather. Okay. And then this would be a line for another feather. There's one right there, one right here, one right here, and one right here. All right, so it's really starting to come along. So what I'm going to do is draw these feathers in the back, and those are just straight lines. Now what you can do to make it a little interesting is sometimes they got little nicks in their feathers. Those little details are great to kind of add in there. But we want them to kind of start really folding together because they just have so many overlapping feathers. And then down here at the bottom, where we were kind of showing this area, this would kind of come up. And then what we'll do is just draw some lines in here. Those are all the little feathers that are just kind of all coming together. Okay. And now when we get back here, these feathers, they're kind of going at a distance. So what we're going to do is kind of curve them. just like that, and then just kind of draw simple lines. Great. Okay, and now back here, these feathers would now overlap a little bit. Awesome. It comes together. Now, what's left is going to be the legs. So on these legs, I kind of drew a guide. So I'm going to kind of, there's going to be a little bit of feathers that are kind of coming down, and then it's going to come down like that. Then you have the ankle. It comes down. You can see the kind of the bones. I love bird feet. Makes me think of dinosaurs. It's always fun. And then you got the back. You're going to have kind of like this knuckle area, and then this little claw on the back. All right. So let's add a couple more behind there. So that way it kind of looks like it's going into the distance a little bit. All right, cool. Now on this leg back here, what we can do is we'll just kind of draw this coming down, and then we'll show like the back of it, the little hook. Maybe we take the front and just kind of put it into the dirt a little bit. Okay, so then we got to put it on something. So let's put it on the ground. Now what you could do to give it a sense of, you know, that it's on the ground is just kind of shade under here just a little bit. Now I'm going fairly quick. I'm sketching this bird. So what you could do is, if you really want to take a lot of time, you could definitely do that. But you can see just from finding general shapes and stuff, let me try and erase some of these blue lines. I don't know if I can. That would be awesome if I could. Looks like they're coming off a little bit. So, a little bit. But you can kind of see, especially if I could lose that line of direction in there, but you can really see where this little guy has come into fruition of being a bird. Definitely looks like a bird, doesn't look like a cow, so we're doing great. And I'm sure you guys are doing amazing. So here we go. So we have this bird. He's pretty much done. We could go in there and add some little shadow areas on here to kind of show like it's overlapping really nicely, especially down in here. So you kind of have like these nice kind of areas where the feathers are kind of dropping down. You can see their shadows. Maybe under here there's a little bit of shadow. But you can spend a lot of time really doing some neat detail work on this. Now, the benefit of doing those shapes, and I really want to drive this home, we can draw from pictures all day long, and all we're really doing is copying a picture. You definitely could practice your craftsmanship on that and become a great, you copy that picture and you'd be great at it, get some skills down for shading and everything. But just like in real life, I mean, we see a bird for a few seconds and he's gone, so you kind of need a reference photo. But the benefit of drawing these shapes out is that you can change the line of action, and then you can create your own experience on paper of what you think this bird would look like. So you have so much more creative ability and potential when you just kind of start with a general shape, like here, this would, the line of action and then the body. I always want to start with that line of action and then the body, and then here would be the head, and then just quickly kind of going through here, this would be the beak, then we can start shaping that out, and this would be a tail, and here's another tail. The back of the tail, sometimes they have like several feathers in the back, and we can really kind of shape out quickly what we think that this bird would look like, and so that's just a super quick sketch. I mean, but it really helps to be able to find that line of action and stuff. And by doing that, you'll quickly be able to create your own scenes and stuff, and certainly use photographs for reference, to kind of see and study the feathers and how they overlap, and on anything you're drawing. Reference photos are great. I mean, if you can draw from life, definitely draw from life. But when it comes to animals and things that aren't sitting in a chair, that are just kind of doing their own thing, you need to sketch out the shapes and get those general shapes down, and that will help so much. And then certainly you can reference the photos later for details like color or shapes and what particular features they have. I mean, but I highly encourage you to sketch as much as possible all the time, and practice. I can't say that enough. Just to let you know, I mean, I've been practicing these birds and really just kind of having a good time with them. But I really wanted to kind of understand, here's a couple where I kind of started sketching in different areas, but I really, really wanted to understand their shape and how they, their function, their anatomy. So definitely really get into that and practice all the time. So practice does make perfect. And there's another one, a different type of bird. So the more you practice, the better you'll get. That's just how it is. And I encourage you to keep on drawing. And I know these are crazy times right now, and it's actually a good time to stay focused on art because most people are indoors anyway. So you might as well have a really good time creating as much as you can. And we really miss you guys in our classes. I know I'm over in the Mandarin area, and I certainly do miss folks. We got some new classes coming up soon, but we're not sure now on the date. But that'll happen. But and I know over across the river, everyone over there in the Murray Hill area definitely loves you, misses you, and so we encourage you to keep creating. And I do want to say that this drawing that I'm doing on these birds is kind of dedicated to somebody, to Sophia Artigas. So Sophia, if you're watching this, I hope you got a lot out of it. I know you, talking to your dad, that you really enjoyed seeing those flying birds that I made, and you wanted to know how to do it because I did it so quick. So this was more of a step-by-step of a regular bird, and we'll do flying birds soon. And then we'll also focus on perspective. I love doing perspective projects, so there's going to be some perspective drawings coming up very soon. So I hope you enjoyed this. Keep on drawing and be safe. Thanks. Bye.